Hi, I'm Heather Smith and welcome to the Accounting Apps Podcast. Each episode I explore how accounting and business apps can help you work smarter, serve your clients better and build a more profitable practice. Whether you're curious about emerging tools, automation, integrations, or simply want to hear the stories from the people using the tech in the trenches, this is the podcast for you. Now, I encourage you to stay up to date with the curated content I'm sharing by signing up for the Accounting Apps newsletter, available at accountingapps.io, and also joining the Accounting Apps Mastermind group. Today on the show, I'm speaking with Viral, Kanabar, and Manish, Sheladia, co-founders of Cloudoffis. Viral is an accountant by qualification, a serial entrepreneur by nature, and someone who spent the last 20 years building businesses that span accounting, fintech, and even the spicy world of Indian street food. Manish is a global tech leader who's grown companies across the world, led hundreds of teams, and still believes that magic happens when you get smart, passionate people working together towards a bold goal. Viral and Manish are the co-founders of Cloudoffis. Launched in 2014, Cloudoffis is focused on assisting the Australian tax accountants and SMSF self-managed super fund auditors embrace automation. A decade later, in 2024, Cloudoffis launched TaxSorted, a new AI-first tax workpaper solution designed to streamline processes for tax accountants. Welcome to the Accounting Apps Podcast, Viral and Manish. How has your week been?
The week has been fantastic so far. Heather, thank you for bringing us to this podcast.
Thank you, Heather. Week has been great. Actually, we started with celebrating Mother's Day, Sunday. In fact, I took my family and 4 mothers to his restaurant. That was fantastic to kick off the week. It's been great.
Oh, that's fabulous. You're friends and supporting each other's other businesses as well. Fantastic. So where am I talking to you? Where are you at the moment?
We both are in India right now. This is a city called Ahmedabad on the western side of India. And you can see the weather difference. We are, half sleeve, and you guys are probably cold out there. So, yeah.
Yes, it is getting colder. It's warm in my room, but it is absolutely getting colder. So before we dive into talking about Cloudoffis, I'd like to start by rewinding to your mid-20s and ask each of you, what kind of environment were you in, were you growing up in, and what were the early influences that shaped you to who you are today? So can I start with you, Manish, for that one?
Wow, that's a walk down the memory lane. Fantastic. So, I can recall my early days. I was very clear that I wanted to pursue computers. And I just loved that subject. So when I graduated, the first years were just to grab knowledge and understand how this whole thing works. But then when I start getting into the depths of it, what really kind of was interesting is that brought me to a lot of different disciplines of different businesses. So I get to work with a lot of different industries. So I would say my early 20s, late 20s, and early 30s, I've had a chance to work with so many different industries across the globe. I spent about 3 or 4 years first in India after I graduated, and then I moved to USA. And there I worked with, really big corporations, big companies, understood their processes, the kind of problems they were kind of solving. And imagine at 20 years old, working in a hot kind of environment, .com environment in Silicon Valley, and everything is, kind of buzzing around you. So many things are happening. every day there are companies coming up and they are going in valuation like millions, right? So it was so much buzzing. And that was very exciting time, but that also taught me good lessons of what are the principles of business, what is a real business versus what is kind of a bubble business, right? So these were my formative years, I would say. And that has set me up for rest of my career where I could build companies and teams that really brought changes in the field that we started working in. And so I would say my 20s were really foundation of my career from that perspective.
Thank you for that. I like the term. I identified real and bubble businesses.
Yes.
Now, Viral, could you jump in and answer that kind of question? What was your environment like in your 20s, and how did that shape you, and what were the influences around you?
Yeah, no, unlike Manish, I'm more of an accidental accountant. I happened to become an accountant, but then obviously I fall in love with accounting. But I've always looked at accounting as more than a practice, and that's why I always wanted to start something which is related to accounting, but a lot more scalable, right? And this is where, in my early 20s, when it was too early even in Australia to talk about outsourcing. I started my outsourcing business back in 2006, where I used to kind of use DHL to send the courier to India to get the data entry done and bring it back. And now it's quite fascinating to see from DHL to launching Cloudoffis and having AI, helping accountants to automate the mundane tasks. So, but obviously I'm qualified chartered accountant. Have been into the public practice, understands the pain area and nuances of what public practice accountants goes through day in, day out, and I can feel that pain, and this is where my motivation comes from.
Excellent. Thank you to both of you for answering that. And goodness, you must have seen some technology changes in terms of couriering the data to India. And it must have taken quite some time as well. Like 2006, even in a courier, it would have taken days to get there. Now, could you take us back to when you both first met? So when did you meet? And then forward to that moment when you realized you'd actually work well together.
Maybe I can start. So, as I said, 2006 is where, I wanted to start, offshoring. So I landed up in the city in India. That's where I met Manish, which, he was already doing software outsourcing from US at that time. And that's how I kind of, we caught up. And obviously, he was running his technology business, and while I was building my, accounts outsourcing business. And that's how kind of, we caught up. So we know each other since probably 2006 now.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's about almost 20 years now.
And what was that moment when you realized you'd work well together?
I think the chemistry was there. It was just very easy to be friends. Although we met for specific purpose, but it was very easy to see that, hey, our wavelengths really match. We like to hang out together, and there were some social occasions, there are some common friends, and that's how we kept on meeting. And that kind of friendship grew quite a bit. So then when I was kind of ready to branch out and do something new, he said, hey, there is a big market called Australia, and there is a lot to be done over there. Why don't we explore that? And that was something, this whole association started.
Fantastic.
Because, yeah, I was more focused on US and India at that time, but then he brought me to Australia.
Fantastic. So, together, or maybe it's Viral. you saw the need to create the business. What was the catalyst for that? You saw Australia was a market. You understood accountant pain points, but what was the catalyst to starting Cloudoffis? Was it that you were writing on the back of napkins, trying to figure out what to do over a long period of time, and then finally you hit on Cloudoffis?
No, I think it was more of my, it's my passion to kind of, solve the problem at the industry level, right? And this is where, I was just talking to him and we were discussing, and one of the problem I identified was the very complex and very niche market, which is the self-managed super fund, where what we saw was that, some of the part of SMSF accounting was on cloud, but when you talk about the auditing and handshaking between accountants and auditors, they were all kind of manual PDF and Excel. So you could see accountants having a fantastic experience while doing it on let's say class or BGL doing the accounting. But as soon as they finish that work, all of a sudden that experience would just go down to in Excel and in PDF, and I explained that problem to Manish that hey, this is the problem, and he said, look, I think we can solve that problem, and and this is where I think the first product, which is the SMSF audit automation, the idea was born.
Yes.
Fantastic. So for our overseas listeners, here in Australia, SMSF is self-managed super fund, which is essentially how some Australians will choose to manage their superannuation or their pension, depending on what you call it in your country. So I did briefly introduce Cloudoffis at the start of the interview, but I'd like to throw over to you. How do you describe Cloudoffis when you meet people? What do you say your business does?
So, see, our vision behind Cloudoffis is to kind of, the name itself, basically, we want to bring cloud technology in offices, right? And across the board in different industries, the level of adoption of cloud and the automation varies. So the first industry we took is accounting industry. And within that, we said, well, if you focus on SMSF, that's a niche market. And like what Viral was saying, there's a lot to be done. There is one portion where there is nothing really substantial exists. So there is a good opportunity for us to really, build our team, build our processes, understand the market, gain that experience, and then really launch the bigger kind of automation and bigger problem solving for the larger industry, right? So from that thought process, we started working towards building solutions for SMSF, and now we are doing pretty good in SMSF industry itself. And on back of that, now we have a really super product for our business services as well, right? So that's kind of a vision of kind of building software, cloud-based software for industries, and starting with accounting industry is how we started.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So Cloudoffis talks about creating a complete operating system for accountants. What does that look and feel like in the practice?
So either what I'm seeing even now as well is that accounting practice might be using one tool for managing their workflow, the another tool for preparing the workpaper file. Then there is another tool we would be using for managing your ATO and SE documents, and then you also have some other tools which you might be using for analytics and business insights and all of that, right? I see all of them is as a one connected platform where accountants are kind of managing their workflow, using the preparing their workpaper file, managing the efficiency, running their the ATO and SE documents on one platform, and contextually data and documents needs to flow together wherever the accountants actually at what stage accountants are working. So this is where I think that there is a great opportunity for Cloudoffis to actually become an operating system for accountants office.
Thank you for sharing that. It does seem. I first came across your business at the BGL Reg Tech Tour, and those relationships and those partnerships with technology first firms like BGL and like Class are really important, and I presume Xero are really important to you. Can you talk about that and how you navigate and manage those relationships?
Yeah, so these are so we work in an ecosystem, right? So these are the players who have already solved one sort of problems. And what we are trying to do is to see if they have done a really good job of that, then how can we augment the remaining part of it, right? And strengthen somebody who has already invested in that product, and how do they get better ROI of not only that investment, but also the new one that we are bringing in. So their overall efficiency and overall compliance level goes up. So let it be BGL, Class, or Xero, our mantra is same. Basically, how do you get, kind of better returns of what you have already invested? In that process, we don't ask them to do so many kind of separate things. That's where Viral was saying, we integrate it in such a way where it becomes like a single kind of operating system for you. You don't have to jump through so many different places to be able to do a simple task. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way we actually are developing.
Yeah, absolutely. I was surprised attending that conference how many different elements there were into that world. So that was quite an interesting eye-opener for me. So you have worked in practice and you deal with a lot of accounting firms, you sell into a lot of accounting firms. What are some of the common growth obstacles you see accounting firms facing? And where do you think technology can play a role in easing that pressure?
So being an accountant, and what I always see, accountants are time poor. So even choosing the right technology and even spending time to choose the right technology itself is the first challenge. And second challenge I see is that even though they know that they need to implement that solution, the implementation part itself, the executing, any new initiative also is a quite of a challenge for most of the accounting firms. And this is where our philosophy comes in, that whatever product we have developed so far has always been more of a plug and play. So it doesn't really require you to install any files or any tools on your computer. It's all cloud. It's like spending half an hour to an hour, you would be able to learn. If I talk about TaxSorted, tax accountants would be able to learn just in 30 minutes. Because what we have done is that we have not gone away from the familiarity of, let's say, Excel, because accountants have been working in Excel. So how do we bring Excel and cloud technology together to give that better experience, not just in terms of the usability of it, but in terms of the automation, in terms of the AI, and so on and so forth.
I think in terms of, so you talked about the first challenge that accountants have. I think the first challenge is even being aware they have a problem and there's a possible solution. Because I think that they're sitting in spreadsheets, and I'm always kind of like, if you're sitting in spreadsheets, or there's post-it notes all over your desk, there is a solution out there. And hopefully through the education process of podcasts like this and other areas, that people can have those conversations, because I completely agree they are accountants are very, very time poor. There's more things dropping on them every single day, unfortunately. So if we fast forward a few years, what do you think the day-to-day looks like for an accounting practice that is fully embracing AI the way that you are envisioning it?
No, I always tell my team member here, who are obviously in offshore, is that the the data processing, entering data into the software, preparing the Excel sheets, all of these days will go on very soon. I think accountants needs to be more of an analyst rather than just an accountant punching the data. And I think I can give you the best example of is that if I'm an accountant and if I'm presenting the data to a business owner, traditionally what we used to do was that we used to give them the comparatives of 2 financial years, saying that, hey, your profit was 20% up and your gross margin was 10% down and all of that. I think those days are gone now. I think all of that information business owners normally would have on their mobile nowadays, right? So accountants needs to start rethinking how we can give more value-added service to their clients. And I think it's a great time for an accountant to really embrace the technology, because there are so much of data available, in the industry, where using the technology, bringing the data in a format where it starts making a lot of sense, so that accountants can help business owner to actually make the decisions rather than just purely a financial kind of decision making. So this is where I think even I would challenge the word accountant, because we are no longer just looking at the financial data. I think expectation is to look at the business data holistically and become a trusted advisor for the business owner. And this is how I would look at accountants.
Absolutely. Do you have anything that you want to add to that, Manish?
No, I think just to the same point, right? So I always think, like, as a CPA, where is the value that you can bring to the table? You obviously didn't go to the school to see how efficiently you file your documents, or how quickly you can actually extract information, and how quickly you can punch in your data in Excel. You actually are there to understand the nuances of business through finance, through accounting, and then bring that value out to your customers. I think that's where your true time should be spent, right? Everything else should be, if it can be automated, if it can be kind of done, in an efficient manner, I think that's where you start being more an accountant rather than just kind of, So I think the vision is that how do we bring that efficiency through technology, in this aspect?
Yeah, I think we've got technology trying to help accountants be accountants, and the tax office trying to stop us.
Perfect.
And just throw more compliance over us, more requirements and more compliance, and everything seems to be going faster and faster. But I completely agree. As you will know, artificial intelligence relies on data, and the accountants have access to vast quantities of data, and if they can surface it correctly, they can just make some really brave, fast, informed decisions. So I'm keen to know, what is your vision for the future of Cloudoffis and for TaxSorted?
So so we continue to build on, technology is our forte, right? And the domain knowledge is something that he's been working in that industry and understand the pain points. So combine that and come up with the solutions that solves real problem. So we have first taken up the TaxSorted, the tax preparation side of things. But if if I talk about the roadmap of TaxSorted itself, there are many things that are coming up. As we have just the first version out, but we are working on automating the ATO interfaces, right? So all your ATO requirements, let it be documents, the schedules, the due dates, right? All of that can be integrated within this platform. And then it has to sit really nicely within the workflow that is there within your organization, right? So that basically is a completion of that particular business process. Then this whole thing has to work within an environment, within an ecosystem which you are already in, right? So for example, we already have integration with FYI Docs. So if somebody is already initiated on FYI, your document movement happens automatically. You just whatever your processes are to collect documents, we can pick it up. Our AI can identify, it can understand that document, it can identify whether it's the bank statement or it's the ATO document, it can file it properly. It can attach to specific line item within your trial balance. So when you are ready to look at that, everything is already there. Click of a button, it can extract information from documents, relevant information. It can, bring data from your ATO. All of that it can do automatically. And then once your work papers are ready, the reviewer get the summary of what is there, what is not there in one clear dashboard, and then can drill into details as they want. So this is just one workflow that we have taken up. Now, as we go forward, we want to bring in the similar experience in everything else and kind of complete that picture of automating the accounting office.
So listening to that, and some of your solutions integrate and interface with the Australian Taxation Office, the ATO. Just from a technology standpoint, what improvements would you like to see at the ATO for working with solution providers such as yourself?
So I think ATO has to be obviously they have to be very secure environment, and obviously one of the experience that we have is that kind of channeling through or kind of working through that the security requirements or the processes that they have laid out for people to really integrate is very daunting, right? So I think the barrier to entry is pretty high. After that, the kind of information that one can have and one can actually automate, that information is also something that one has to be really good at understanding and trying out and then, kind of figuring things out. So I think just the interface of working with software could be better than what it is today. But having said that, they have it and we can use it. That's a great plus. Yeah, right. It brings in amazing amount of information upfront, which we can integrate in our solution. And using that data, we can automate so many things intelligently, right? We can put things contextually where it is required, and we can guide our users to do right thing at right time and save a lot of time for them.
I have just returned from Canada and I went into the Xero offices while I was there. And you're probably unaware of this, but some time ago, you know how Xero buys solutions?
Yeah.
The only desktop solution they have bought is I think it's a product called TaxCycle. And it's a desktop solution. So from Xero, you can go put your taxes in that and then upload it to their tax office, which still runs on a desktop interface, which so interesting. It's so interesting how you are sitting in the technology space, you're evolving, you're working globally, you're like, bam, I'm in India, bam, I'm in the USA, here I'm working in Australia. And it's like, we need the government officers to move with us while maintaining the security that you're you're talking about because again the security issue is just constant. It's nauseatingly, boringly scary.
Yeah.
So Viral, you recently wrote about attending an Isha Insight event, and in your post, you noted that many business leaders spoke about how practices like Shambhavi Kriya help them stay disciplined and focused. Can you explain a little bit about this practice to our listeners?
Yeah, no, I think the great probably lesson I have learned is that it's like, more, if you want to do more things in your life, how do you do that? We all get tired, we all get exhausted. And so, is that the limitation that, we could only do, certain things in our lives? One of the biggest takeaway I could kind of, learn from there is to enhance yourself. So if the focus is to kind of, if an individual focuses on enhancing his or her capabilities in their day to day, the natural capability of that person would increase to an extent where they can do wonders in their lives. So, for example, if you see there are many world leaders, spiritual leaders and business leaders. I always question how can they do a lot more than what I can do. What I can do, I think I'm doing a lot. But when you look at someone who is doing multi-billion empire, how is that possible? So that question I had, and I went with that curiosity, and an answer I got is kind of to enhance yourself so that your inner capability increase to the level where your activities can be multifold. So yeah, it was a true insight for me and for many others in that room. Having the similar kind of questions. Many of them were at the crossroad of, hey, I've got I'm a millionaire. I've got a lot of wealth. I've got a lot of businesses. My family is all fantastic. But then I'm confused. What do I do next in my life? Right? I really don't have a motivation of doing next in my life. So I think people were seeking real life questions in that session, and it was quite fascinating to hear the stories from much larger and much bigger successful people talking about their problems and trying to seek the answers to that. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that. I think it was quite quite exciting.
Thank you for sharing, Viral. We appreciate it. We always like learning more about people and the humans sort of behind the stories, and it's all different. There are all different elements that bring us to this point in time, aren't there? So, Manish, I'm keen to know, you were recently part of the Startup Pitch Fest at the Accounting and Business Expo, and Cloudoffis won. So what did you take away from that event and the experience of Cloudoffis being named the overall winner?
See, I have been part of startup kind of ecosystem quite a bit. So it's always fascinating how the aspirations and aspiration of the young entrepreneurs really kind of come up and talk about what they want to do and how they want to change the world. Well, for Cloudoffis, obviously we were not the startup, but this was about starting a new venture within Cloudoffis, which is TaxSorted, and having that understanding of what is important for us to say when we are kind of pitching, when we are starting, I think that helped us. And my colleague Krasant actually did the great job of presenting that in that event. He was excellent in terms of laying out the problem statement that we are trying to solve for the tax, for the accounting industry, the solution, and the clarity in which he explained how we are solving those the big problems for accounting industry within the tax workpaper space, and then the vision of how this is going to grow so that you can really look at this software and you can adopt that, right? So I think more than me, it was his performance and the way he explained was the winner. And it is always great to see that people really understand the value proposition very quickly. And that's the reason Cloudoffis won that award, because they saw the value of what TaxSorted can do for them.
Yeah.
I do like how you started that by talking kind of about the energy of the younger people who are at the startup festivals, and I do think that we kind of go through life, and I'm an old lady now, but I do find that there is so much you can learn from sort of being around young people and how they're using devices and what they anticipate and what they're looking for, even how they're operating, and the language they're using is quite interesting and inspirational, and there is a lot of energy
So
from that.
Heather,
So.
if I can add to that, part of our philosophy is that we put the biggest challenge to our youngest engineers. And we don't put them under any kind of, we don't have boundaries for them. We give them the hardest problem and say, solve these problems. Look at the technology, try whatever you want to do. When some, few things come together, then we run hackathon, and you can see those kind of energies and the collaboration and the ideas and the passion that comes out, which is how we can build so many good solutions, right? So I think channeling that energy and startup energy is very, very important. And we have been able to do that.
That's really interesting. So you're channeling the startup energy back into the firm, even though the business has been operational, I think off the top of my head, over a decade.
Yes.
And how often are you running hackathons in the business?
So we run two types of hackathon. One is the engineers hackathon and one is the business users hackathon, right? So first is when we are building a solution, which is a technology kind of challenge. So we call it proof of concepts, POCs, right? That has no application defined, but we know that if we get that thing right, for example, can we get Excel to work on cloud without people really needing to download it, upload it, and do that, right? So it's something. It's the fancy of saying that if we can do that, then we can bring that kind of experience to our users, right? So things like that. Or, well, everybody's talking about AI and open AI. Everybody talks about when they say AI, it's all Chat GPT or things of that nature. But in true sense, can somebody come up with AI and build it in our solution in a way where the power comes in without people really realizing it, right? Because that's the true nature of technology. So today, when you fly an airplane, you don't think about motors which are actually running it. Your experience is going from one place to another place in so much comfort. But the technology behind that is that, somebody really designed that motor and put it there, which you don't even realize. But that's the problem solving. That is the real power of technology, and which is exactly what we try to bring by throwing such challenges to our engineers. Now, once they have developed something, then we bring in our business users, the domain experts, and we say, if you were to use this technology, how would you, where do you find problems in that? And they come up with a heck lot of problems. So, so there's always that demand and then kind of creation. Again, you give them back and they again demand. So that cycle keeps on going for us in our companies.
That's very, very exciting. And I guess that young people don't have the barriers or boundaries or this can't possibly work in place that older experienced people have. And I did laugh at your comment about the aeroplane and that we don't think of the engines. The very first company I worked at was Doughty Fuel Systems that makes the engines for the aeroplanes. But it was many years ago. But I have a husband who loves aeroplanes, and he'll say, "Okay, the wheels are from here, the landing gear's from here." So you need to fly with him. And have all of those things listed down. Now, you touched on ChatGPT, and which is a large language model. Is there any interface in what the LLMs, the ChatGPTs are doing, and with the solutions that you're offering? Interface.
Yes.
Crossover, intersection. That's what I mean. Intersection, not interface.
So AI has many facets, right? So and then ChatGPT is one of the applications that is using AI, or LLMs are one kind of types of AI, you can say. So we've been investing in AI technologies since at least 4 or 5 years now. We have had team that always looked at what can we do with this technology. And what I can say is that first, it has been a moving target, right? So we are looking at specific problem in accounting industry and coming up with the solutions. And the technology we use actually upgrades very fast. So we have to now rewrite that and say, oh, now this is better because this is something that has improved, or this is a completely new way of doing things. So let's kind of redesign this thing and let's redo that. I think this journey has taken us so many iterations that we have now understood the nuances really well. So when people say ChatGPT and using ChatGPT as AI substitute, I think they obviously, they are fascinated by something which is amazing. It's let me put it this way. You have a friend, right? So if you ask anything to that friend, he will always come up with an answer. Now that answer could be inaccurate completely or partially, or it could be completely hallucination. But that person or that friend will always give an answer. So ChatGPT is like that. Now that person cannot be your accountant, right? Because it's very risky, right? It's risky because he may tell you an advice which is not appropriate. So in this context, when you are asking a question to ChatGPT, you don't know whether that reference is coming from Australian accounting industry or British accounting industry or American accounting industry, unless you can really bind it in a way where it becomes very specific. So that's just number one, right? The second is that what you are asking could be, if it is generic, probably it's okay. But if you try to seek information or data very specific to problems on hand or the account on hand, then that's not the right source to go. It's like, you can ask general questions to ChatGPT, and that's wonderful. But when you want to use it in your business processes, something that, people depend on for, for their businesses, then you have to be very specific. Security, accuracy cannot be compromised in that. So that's number one, right? Second, while you are working on your business process, if you need to go out and do something, type there, get that answer, come back here, I think that's not efficiency. You are distracted, because while you are there, you may ask something about, oh, what was the last movie of Russell Crowe also? So you are distracted, instead of saving time, you may actually lose time, right? So I think putting that contextually where you require that data accurately and succinctly is the power of bringing that AI technology within your workflow, which is what we do. Right? I hope I answered what you were asking, because okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners? Is there any burning issue that you'd like to bring up with our listeners? Sort of opportunity to share it now.
No, I think, like what you said, when you see somebody not moving from what they've been doing, I think it really affects us also, because we know world is moving so fast, and not able to explain somebody that, well, there are ways to really do that and embrace technology and growth where you can become really good accountant. I think that's our passion, to help customers to do that, is what I think I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have done in audit automation or in SMSF industry, right? I would say in last 7 to 8 years since we launched our first product in SMSF market. I think we feel motivated when we look at the numbers, and we can claim that almost 100,000 funds are on our platform. And we are actually being able to help the industry to solve the problem and make their lives better. So I think, that motivates us too.
keep going. Yeah.
That's very exciting. So thank you very much for being on the Accounting Apps podcast. How can people find out more about Cloudoffis?
They can simply visit our website, cloudoffis.com.au, and we obviously have a large team across Australia. So, and they are all fantastic people to reach out to. So, yeah, that's the...
Thank you. Thank you so much, Viral and Manish, for joining me on the Accounting Apps podcast. So I encourage our listeners to keep up to date with the modern accounting technology landscape by subscribing to this podcast, subscribing to the Accounting Apps newsletter, and join the conversations happening in the Accounting Apps Mastermind community. I'm your host, Heather Smith, and I'm pretty easy to find on all social media platforms. I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Heather.